Well,
That's
last
gonna be
year
that been in
spent
a while,
however
you know,
many
so
more hundreds
they might
than
have
last
questions.
year's.
Anyways,
Trying to remember when I was in life, we even looked at solar, but.
thanks for.
Friday at noon.
They barely did the lights. The lights
Alright.
didn't work after they replaced them.
6 o'clock, we'll get rolling, you got attendance, Jordan, you capture all of it?
Yep.
Yeah. It's there. Got it. Say, have John send it out again.
Did you start recording?
I did? It's over there.
There.
Yes. Great, so we're good on attendance, open forum, coaches, you guys got anything for us?
Yeah, I got something quick. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Kyle Koth. I'm the Phantom AA head coach this year, for the past 3 years actually. I just wanted to come here today to express my interest in a topic that's, I know it's been brought up a bunch, but it's Jackson Maiden playing Phantom hockey this year. I put a lot of thought into this past few weeks, and I've reached out and done a bunch of research. I've reached out to Minnesota Hockey, Dave himself, just to make sure that he's behind this, or not behind it, but that he's okay with it, and it's something that, of course, Jackson wants as a kid. So the reason I'm here is because my opinion has changed over the past few weeks and months, in terms of when the first time the deal got floated to me, which was a couple weeks before tryouts. I got approached and asked my thoughts, and I really didn't know much about the kid. I knew he was a talented player at the Pee Wee level, but that's about it. So I watched him in my private clinics, and again, he stood out in terms of physically, he's really gifted and he's all there. But I guess at the clinics it was hard to judge his entire game because it's a lot of small area stuff, a lot of station work. And again, his ability's there, the things that I missed and I've kind of now seen are way beyond just his skill on the ice. And so the past few weeks I've gone to a couple Pee Wee practices and one of their games actually. And the things that I couldn't see from the clinics and everything is his mental game. I think he's far and above his Pee Wee level. He sees the ice and processes the game at a super high level. And I think him playing single A this year is a huge detriment to his development. Like I said, he can keep up with the big boys. I know he's not the biggest kid on the ice, but his mental awareness is probably better than most kids on my team. And also Jackson played up at HP level for the age group above him this year, which is a big deal to even make the team, but he averaged over a point per game at that level. And that's super impressive to anyone at that age level, but he's a whole birth year behind. So those are just some of his accolades, obviously, but a couple things I wanted to point out is when I got hired by the association 3 years ago now, a big push by the board, and I know not all of you were there, some of you were, but was that you wanted to develop a program that kept kids at this association from mites through high school. I know before I got here, there were some issues. They had some top end talent leave to go to Lakeville and some other places around the Bantam level right before high school, and it really hurts our program as a whole. And so, in my opinion, this has never come out of Dave's mouth. I think the moment that that decision was made, that I know it got brought up late right before tryouts, but the moment that that decision got made that he wasn't going to be playing Bantams and that Pee Wees were going from AA to single A, if Dave wasn't the high school coach, I truly believe the kid would be gone automatically. I think he'd be somewhere else. He'd go play somewhere that would either let him play at the Bantam level or find a program that has a AA program in it. And again, that has never come out of Dave's mouth. I just truly believe that's the lay of the land of youth hockey these days. So I believe that it's a huge disservice to Jackson, his family, and the association as a whole that he's not playing at a level that's up to his skill and mental processing. So I guess my question today is now that tryouts are over and all the injury holds are gone, is that who would it be hurting at this moment to let him play at the Bantam AA level? I've talked to Rack a couple times, and he said there's no rules, and he sees it all the time. Rosters can move up until January 1st. He said the only issue he has is moving kids down from the Peace seen it all the time, other associations do it. So I have that backing. And then my last thing I wanna bring up is a comparison that I think fits really well, is everyone here as kids, and I'm assuming as kids in school, if your kid's super talented in math or reading or science, the school has policies in place to bring them up to speed or to bring them into classes above them. Let's say they're really good at math and ninth grade's in algebra 1, but if your kid can ace the final on the first day, then why is he in the class, right? There's policies in place to bring them up to levels that are gonna challenge them and let them develop, and I think we're truly hurting Jackson's development by keeping that single A this year. Again, I hope this holds some weight, coming from me, because I really have no special interest besides for the kids in the association. And like I said earlier, I've only come today is because my opinions drastically changed by watching them and reaching out to people and getting other people's opinions on it, and I truly think he's in the wrong place. So, I hope it opens up another discussion. I understand this is a horse that's been beaten a bunch already, but I just wanted to plead my case so I could feel good if I did everything I could for the kid.
Can I ask you, Kyle, who did you talk to at Minnesota Hockey? Cause I had, the last time we had the discussion, I had asked about the rule that once you try out at a level, that's the level you stay at. And I know that rule is designed for, if you make a lower team, you can't like change levels just because you're not happy with where you're placed. What was that conversation? Just cause at the end of the day, if we did something, there's gonna be appeals, cause people are gonna go, well, I wanted a spot on that team, right? So, any kind of decision making would obviously have to be well vetted.
Yeah, I talked to Rack directly on the phone, and he's on the board at Minnesota Hockey as well. But yeah, he said, like he told me, he said that he's never said no to moving kids up.
Saying I can't develop them?
Not at all.
I mean, a little bit, it's kind of a shot a little bit.
I don't
I get where you're coming from too.
I don't think that's what I'm getting at all. I think the kids he's playing with and the kids he's playing against, I think he sees the ice and can move and it's just not, like, just the puck touches aren't there, and it's, I think he's gonna learn to not wanna pass and create bad habits, and I think there's a lot of negatives involved.
Kyle, from a roster standpoint, what does this do to your forwards numbers like? Does it make an odd man out? Does somebody move to defense, or does it?
I only have 13 right now, so it brings it to 14, and I took 5D, not because of this at all, just because of the talent on the ice. I took 5D already, so I already have 5D going forward this year, so I would just move my 5D back to 5D. And I know it creates other issues in terms of roster sizes, but I think that's something that can be worked around, and I think it's a little bit easier at the Pee Wee level.
So, the conversation and where it's gone, and I know you would like, Jackson would like, David would like, if we're moving or we're not, like, tonight, now, we do it or we don't, and let's put it to bed.
Well, I think open forum isn't the place for that discussion right now.
No, but I'm gonna summarize that.
Can move it to another.
The decision wasn't to block Jackson, because I agree with you that it's probably best for his development to play at Bantams, even if it was Bantams. I agree with that from the hockey perspective. I started those conversations, talking to level coordinators and stuff. The reasoning that no move was made at tryouts was to do it, we have a move up policy that does not have a gray area or a wiggle room to move up for player development. The board's decision wasn't to say no to Jackson, the board's decision was to not edit and change the handbook at that time. So that's how we got to that, just so that's clear and on the record, that it's not that the people in this room sat here and said no to moving him, it was more procedural. As the meeting goes on, I've got more to say about that, in terms of our handbook and how we go about setting that handbook. die by it, but don't have any discretionary room built into some of the rules, so, thank you for the comments, we'll take them under advisement. To Melissa's point, yeah, open forum, we can't delve all the way into it right now. But I'll speak a little more just on my handbook thoughts in just a little bit, so just wanted to make sure that air is clear that, cause a lot of different things were said about how and why the decision was made. It wasn't a, like, no to that player, it was, our rules are this, and we weren't willing to make a change to them right there at the beginning of tryouts, so, just so that's cleared up in the open air there.
Chrome Bush, you got anything?
Not, filling time, I had nothing to do tonight, so.
There's a U-10 game going on at 6.
I got one, I think at 8:30, I think I got run over.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Alright, if nothing else for open forum, we will move to a secretary's report. Scott, are you speaking on John's behalf, I heard?
Yep, just gonna make sure everyone saw that the September notes / agenda was sent out, and wanna make sure to see if there's any questions, otherwise let's put it to motion.
Scott motioning to approve September minutes.
Second.
Matt seconds. In favor? Good. Alright, Melissa, treasurer.
Yep, so I emailed out, the financials for September. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? Alright, then I will, make a motion to approve September financials as presented in the email.
Tina, this is your turn, because Amy's not here.
Second. Well, she's technically.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
Julie,
So
Julie, you
second.
have to. Alright, there we go, Julie second. We don't wanna mess that up. Favor? Good. Alright, Julie, gambling.
Okay, first of all, did we ever approve August? I don't think so.
I don't think there's ever an
So-
email that went out.
Do we wanna do that first?
Yes.
August expenses were 56,781.18.
Did we get that
Jordan's
cleared up,
number
that
3.
email that you sent?
Nope.
Did we ever get any response from that?
Yes. What was the
The
question?
one about the big variance in money that you said you'd be withholding from rent, they had to do some investigating.
We didn't find anything, so it deducts right from their rent. We're still hoping maybe it'll pop in somewhere, but hasn't. We have issues with, I don't know. We're trying to figure out what's happening, but it's not on our side, so he gets really upset, so that's a good thing, but I think it'd be better for him to learn the process too, so he knows daily what to do or whatever, but it's not yet. But this month was good for him, so he didn't have a big jump in
Right.
losses.
And our recourse is we just withhold the loss from the rent, so we're not taking the loss.
Right.
And I
It's
think
not-
that,
we're
that's
not-
the question you wanna know, is that
Yeah.
we're not losing
Yes.
money on it.
Oh, yes, so yes, that deducts right off the top, right away,
Okay.
for all of them, it's not that we're doing it to them only, but.
Right,
Yeah.
so if
That's
you
the
do
law.
that though, does that ever come into a thing with the state, like, hey, there's huge variances in
Mhm.
gambling, we're shorting these places?
Yeah, they don't like it. So if I ever go through audits and things and they notice a lot, yeah. So the bookkeeper, we talk about it often,
Okay,
so we watch it,
right,
we know, like, no, that's not looking so good. He knows it too. We can lose our license for it,
right,
so. Yeah, we'll keep
Okay.
on it. I went in there this last week and went through everything, and this month actually was really good, so I don't know if he went off on them or.
right,
I hope so,
Yeah.
but I'm like, you can kinda tell who's doing some of the things, so, especially for E-tabs, cause they're supposed to be signing in and out.
Was that Tap House? What- Tap
Yeah,
House?
Cat House.
But they're not, I don't think they're counting or process every day that they should, it would make it really simple.
Right,
But then I have to go day by day by day to see what happened on every day, and it's
right,
hard to blame one person when there's two people working that day or whatever.
right,
But yes, we're not taking that loss.
perfect.
Do we have a procedure in place if we like see that another month? Do we talk about not using them anymore? I don't ever want to go to location, but if it can threaten our license, that's a huge deal.
Do we want me to threaten them? That
No.
we're gonna pull them?
No, I
Cause
don't,
he'll find someone else.
no, I don't wanna do that, I'm just, do we have a solution if this
Well,
happens
sometimes
again?
when the numbers aren't matching, they fire people, I mean.
And that's what I kinda feel like,
Okay,
Yeah.
could I not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you also have to kind of prove it, so it's hard to prove.
sure.
It's just sometimes missing. Like, I've gone through games and I'm like, it's obvious, you're just missing cash. You're not missing tickets or you're not missing your winners.
So somebody's pocketing the money.
Or sometimes they switch, you know, stuff gets shuffled all over. Some of those, they shove it in one box and, but we usually find, our auditors will find,
Okay.
it's a big ordeal. But yes, I am totally trying to help him figure it out. And me figure it out too, like what is going on. So hopefully next month will be another good one.
Thank you.
I'm glad you asked that, though.
Yeah,
Cause it was terrible.
I know, I was like, whoa.
And then I was like, wait, no, that wasn't me, that was not
Right.
me. Okay, so that's, August,
Yeah, so Tim,
and this is September.
second to approve.
Oh, yeah, we have
August.
to, motion to approve August 56, 781, 18.
I'll second.
Here. Okay, good.
Okay, then we will motion for September. Oh, we'd already did the expenses, I think, for August. I made them up, I think, we'll be able to see.
She said for September expenses, you made them up for September
Oh, no,
expenses.
okay, motion, September expenses, 57, 730, 21.
I'll second.
Mayor,
What's this one?
That will be the.
can I get at least one more voting in, so we have a majority, thank you.
And then we'll motion for 60,000, since we've been in that ballpark
Second.
for October. That's really good.
Good.
And
Yeah,
then,
she's got that one down here too. We had to have
Oh,
it, cause
I-
we didn't, cause we skipped September last time, is that right?
August, yeah.
and then nachos closed, right?
Yes. So if anyone knows who's going in there, I tried to get it out of her, but she said they didn't have a liquor license, which you have to sell, so I don't, and then I asked her again before they left, and she claimed she didn't know, but I don't know. Kinda was quiet. Quiet thing,
Yeah, they exited very fast.
yes. Mhm. And then they started to do really good with their hotels. Are making more money.
Alright, District 8 is not here, said there wasn't any real new news, right? Make sure we're getting the team counts in, game schedules are out, coaches and managers are aware at the sport level that they are gonna have quick turnaround to approve. So, nothing earth shattering from there. So, moving along to new business, I'm gonna take my soapbox for a minute here, and just talk about, you know, our handbook, our board operations manual, these things, you know. Tim, you're new to the board, you missed out on all the fun of that at the beginning of the board year, but Matt, Scott, Chris, being new to it, right? We come running in, you got a million things to figure out, and hey, by the way, here's the handbook, here's the laws, this is what we're gonna live and die by, and we got 3 weeks, figure it out, make sure we got it all right. It's not that we're broken or don't get it all right, but do we really put in the thought, the effort, consider, yeah, we're never going to get every situation forecasted. We're never gonna be able to figure out every single thing that it comes up. But I'd like us to spend the rest of this board year and the entire off-season reviewing both handbooks and taking a thorough approach to them. Looking at them, looking at other ones for comparison, things like that. You know, we set it in stone. Matt said to me several times, like, everything we do is by handbook, and it's a good thing for most situations. But look at it from the lens of, if we make it no gray area, or we don't retain any discretionary power as a board, can we get it right in every situation, right? As I said with Kyle's comments, per our rule book, per our standards, per our guidelines, we got it right. I don't agree that we got it right for the players' development, right? We got it right by our rules, but that's my point here, is that we need to really analyze our rules to make sure we are positioned to do what's right. If you look at Rosemond's handbook, they have a clause in their move-up policy. It's not just need-based. If it's best for a player's development, they move them up. How many third graders could probably play sports, but we don't move them up because there's not enough room, right? There's a lot of third graders that they play mites for 4 years. That fourth year is redundant. They've already done that as much as they're gonna do at mites, and they're probably ready. We have a unique player in our system right now that we have no wiggle room, no authority to say, you know what, what's right for his development. We have policy, we've pigeonholed ourselves to not be able to do anything about it. Our tryout policies, what's an excused absence versus an unexcused absence? There's a lot of variables there. I don't disagree with the folks that were upset that their child playing a high school sport had to pick between the two sports. By our rules, that was right, but was it necessarily right? If you know the player I'm talking about, was there a question of what level he was going to end up landing on, whether he tried out or not? I would guess no. He's always been at that top level. Did we really have to draw that hard a line in the sand? Now, going on a family vacation, deciding just don't feel so good today, I'm gonna take day 3 off. That's different, but we leave ourselves no room discretionary. And I, in no means, don't mistake this for me saying the president should be able to just say and do whatever they want. I think it should be reviewed and looked at, create some discretionary powers, but by committee. A player move up, not just because the parents asked, not just because a coach asked, but does our player development lead see something that should be considered? Does the president agree? Do our high school coaches see and agree to that? So as we start going through those, and we're not gonna pull out the handbook and sit here for 3 hours tonight. I would like us to start one section at a time, and each month have a conversation about it. We'll set the document up like we do where it's at, you can suggest edits, but that's not the published document. So we'll keep a live working document, come back, discuss, take some time, you know, to have a discussion, then go back and reflect on the discussion and really look at, are we writing this in the way where we're going to best serve every single one of our members? Or are we writing it in a way where we've got our policy and we're gonna stick to it, and no matter what, there's never gonna ever be an exception or a wiggle room? Yes, it means we'll have to say no to some people. Yeah, it means we'll have to have some tough conversations and make some tough decisions. But that's what a board's elected to do, is to look at the situations and make those decisions. So, just
And to that point, then, like, the biggest thing I've seen on this board, I don't know how long I've been on, 5 years, 6 years, I don't know. All these things get changed every year. The only thing that gets changed in the handbook is because of personal agendas. And that's the rules that get changed, and then it hinders us for the next year.
correct. It's a reaction versus being proactive and looking
And
at how can we position ourselves to do the right
We
thing.
have to look at this thing not as how it affects your own kid, it's how it affects everybody. And sometimes that's hard to do, I get it, but a lot of these rules that we put in place, I mean, our pig pool sizes are so small this year. Like, we had kids that were missed, that weren't even pickable, which is just not fair. But we changed that pig pool size previous years because there's kids that got missed or didn't get missed, and we have to just think about all the kids when we go through this.
And I think that,
And it can't be cramped.
so, like tryout committee, we started the process last year, and I think we're continuing to improve upon it, but making sure we debrief, right? after tryouts are over, make a list of the things that we need to look at now in our upcoming meetings and start looking at those handbook items. So we met, was it a week ago, I think, and we have a huge list, right, of things that our next upcoming meetings, we have to debrief on the process, look at the handbook, figure out what potential changes are needed to address issues that relate to the handbook that we have on that list. Other issues are outside of the handbook that we need to talk through. But it's going to be over the course of the next how many months that we're going to start tackling those and having those conversations, so that we can put a lot of thought into it and then present it back to the board when we come back to those handbook discussions and have put hours into that.
And that's exactly the diligence I'm challenging this board to finish the rest of this year and start next year with.
Can I say something here? So, some of you may or may not know my situation this year. The discussion about Jackson is interesting. My son Wesley,
Can
was also
I
on that.
stop for a minute though? Can we not get into personal, we're talking about the handbook.
I understand,
And that
my
would be
son
an
fell
open-
through a gap in the handbook.
That would be an open forum type deal when you're talking about your personal situation.
I want a waiver. I want a waiver next year. I'm done. Fuck it, come on. This is exactly the fucking problem.
Alright, well, that's unfortunate that we can't just have a discussion where it belongs.
No, and without going into personal details, yeah, I understand somewhat where his frustration's coming from. Prior to tryouts, like, what's the policy look like? Like, we're gonna talk to coaches, figure out where you go. Didn't agree with where that wound up being, didn't agree with how many roster spots, I mean, we're supposed to keep 4 spots. Either way, it's to avoid having it be God, that wasn't very clear, that's why we gotta take this diligence, so. Thank you for allowing me to soapbox that for a little bit, and just let's make sure we're taking that lens of really look at our rules and let's not wait until May to just rush this thing through. Melissa's right, the tryout committee last year debriefed and looked at things, didn't make a lot of changes based on it, but we can continue to try to get better every day, right? The coaches in the room, what do we ask from our players? To get better every day. That's what I'm asking of this board, as we finish out this board year, so. I'll step off my box and we'll move on to something way more fun.
I don't think we need to push May again either. In the past, it's always been June, we rushed it to May this year.
Yeah.
Well, I just think that allows you another month for
Yeah.
people to get their feet wet to.
Yeah, well, and to Rob's point, right, somebody's gonna get elected and come in here upset about one thing that happened last year and wanting rule change specifically on that one situation. And our job is to write the rules for all 480 members.
You confused me when you said May.
May the month,
Yeah, that you're going backwards.
it's not on our side.
So. Alright, Scott, I believe, Mike Meltdown, is it you or Chris that wanted to speak on that?
Oh, we got, basically, get to it, Mike Meltdown, yeah, so, long story short, we've been coming off a great week of evaluations, a lot of momentum, a lot of happiness. Obviously, we had a great Mike Meltdown last year, where we had fun, obviously it was inter-squad, and this year, we wanna start trying to do what we can do best, and start trying to bring in some teams from outside. Definitely not thinking, extravagant or anything like some of these jamborees have been, but at least something enough to start getting us more prepared to how we can do them. So obviously some local teams, whether it's Lakeville, Northfield, Rosemont, St. Paul, etc. What I'm looking to try and do is obviously build a committee to try and work on that. We know that that's not an easy task, and part of that committee will have to be parents outside of our board and our typical committee teams, so I'm hoping that's an easy thing, but the things I'm looking at to try and get help on is obviously identifying teams. We know we have team managers that are speaking to other cities right now, not only to set up scrimmages and potentially get into jamborees, but start asking them and inquiring, so making sure that's okay. Obviously, Tina, we had a great sponsor that signed on for this year, so trying to understand how do we use that money correctly? Is it swag bags? Is it kind of gift giveaways? Something in some way to, again, make it worthwhile and fun. Also talking to other sponsors, I know we did a really great job with the golf tournament, so let's start utilize that and try tie in even more where we can tap some of those potential sponsors in the way of being here, showcasing them, having some fun with that. Communications, arena prep. Last year we had a bunch of moms that were rock stars, got their arena all decorated, made fun. This year having enough time to not only expand on that, but then also partner with Craig so that we're tying in everything from like vending options, or if we wanna have any vendors or anybody else come out, just makes it that much more of a little extravagant and go from there. So my biggest thing right now is just getting this on our radar and then having the ability to tap on some people if they are on the board that wanna do it. If not, I'm gonna look outside and try and get some parents to help us.
Are there any rules for us creating a subcommittee of parents to help us with this?
No, volunteers are the
Like-
lifeblood of this
And
association.
then as far as like, if we wanna spend money to do something, we just motion it at a board meeting, correct? And
Yeah, I don't.
Or they usually have a budget, right?
We
have a
usually
little bit
have
budgeted.
had it budgeted, I just don't know
Off the top of your head.
what it is off the top of my head, but I can look.
Anything beyond the budget.
Do
that
we
is
have,
budgeted approved.
Scott, do we have dates?
Not yet, that's it. That I was hoping Dakota was gonna be
I
here
know.
to try to see the
She might-
schedule, but
She might
So,
pop in, but.
Last year's the only year that I can remember where we didn't have outside teams. So if you get dates
yeah,
and a general registration open, you won't have to reach out to anybody.
okay.
You'll have a waiting list.
Yeah.
I want to see what
Sweet.
we have
Yeah.
like before, like.
Just open it up,
And
they'll find it.
Okay.
2 years
Yes.
ago, it was a Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, you don't have to
Friday.
reach out, they'll find us.
Pre,
Yeah, Friday evening,
Beautiful.
Saturday and Sunday, it was,
And then what are the thoughts, is it like Mike 2, 3s and U8s?
It would be all of my teams and the U8, just like we did last year, since we've got the 3 U8 teams, and then all the mites, that's 12 teams, so I mean, it's gonna be,
So
It'll
the
be
big
big.
thing is to get the ice
yeah.
and figure out what you can maximize with 4 teams on the ice and
Yeah,
figure out
that's
how
what I
many
said
max
Friday.
teams you can have.
Yep.
And then cap your registration there, it'll fill immediately.
And you might, reason for is you might wanna be full ice, cause you're gonna attract more teams if you're doing full ice at that age.
It's almost always why we haven't done Mike Forest though, because it's
Yeah.
You
You
way
only
less
get 2
people.
teams.
March 14th, 15th, and 16th are dates I would target. March 16th is probably end of the year party ice time too, but that's the weekend of the state tournaments, so other than maybe a couple of our teams, our association, our high schools be done, there's gonna be plenty of ice available. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, but even so, they would be gone to the tournament that weekend, so
Do we know when the ice out is?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask that.
It's always after
it's
our,
always right
Do
after.
they
I
wait for
feel like
us?
they wait for us
Okay.
on
Cause I
that
was gonna say,
last.
we might, okay, so I'll look
we just
at
gotta
that.
get with Dakota and
Yeah.
get a weekend and then we gotta get registration open.
I'd give her 3 or 4 more days to finish through the rest of
No,
the
yeah,
game scheduling, and she will probably help you out in every way you need for it.
Based on everything Scott said, like, we go, like, there's no other,
Yeah.
okay.
Do we need, the only thing is then looking, do we need to send something to District 8 right away to get approved for?
Yes.
That I think
If-
is probably the one thing you gotta look at,
We'll-
there's probably an
but
approval, tournament
I'll dig 'em
approval
up.
type form.
There is
with
the
this.
host, and I don't know if it's the same as the upper level one where you have to have all of your rules and all these things. You may just need to inform District 8 and hear their rules and stipulations on, you know, you're not putting first graders on full ice, et cetera, et cetera.
And they can only, what, was it 90 minutes, like they can't play back to
Yeah,
back.
that's all in the handbook
Yeah.
for Minnesota.
The reason why we're excited is because we figured out how to use the boards, so that's the other
Yeah.
part. Yeah, Melissa.
You figured out how to do, oh yeah,
Yep, so we got the
that was
boards
great
up.
for trying.
But we do one question, some of the vets here, do we know what brand the boards are, like who we bought them
We're
for?
missing one
We're
piece,
missing
that
one
we need
piece.
to replace.
Obviously, a kid came around back there.
I'd ask Casano.
We never
I bet
used
he
them, how
was
come we
involved
missing
somehow.
a piece?
That
Yeah.
piece has been missing since I was in my coach.
Probably, so we got it all set up and then we're like, oh.
They've been up since then.
Piece.
They
We
still
made it work.
work.
We got
It's
it
just
to
one
work.
of the joining pieces. It's not-
It's one of the pegs.
It's one of the pegs and the kids.
Not
got
the
it.
board.
It's the joiners.
Joins them together.
Sounds
Bragg
good.
is the ratchet
I'll check with-
straps too,
I'll
but
check with
that
Mike
your
and see
mic
if
fell
he
down,
remembers.
some are rusty and old.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Perfect, next one up for me, this is kind of one that goes back from, you know, Melissa and I and Rob and Chris doing trial committee, and that we need to start trying to cycle a coach coaches survey or something to start trying to populate coaches again. We're running into issues with some of the lower level kids where there's just not enough coaches. And so, you know, my thought process is somehow a survey gaining interest as we start trying to build player development and try and getting resources out there and trying to make it easy for these coaches to come in. It at least helps us start try find new blood. I know a lot of dads that have their kids in the program, obviously those are easy ones to grab, but I'm just trying to think and see, you guys might have done this in the past before, pull me over if you have, but again, trying to find ways to reach out to parents that are like, you know what? Or at least know hockey, I might not be the greatest skater, but if you give me a practice plan, you show me what to do, you give me resources, I'm totally willing to sign up and get certified to be a coach and come out and help the program. So I'm thinking of some way of trying to do a coaches survey, something, one, to gain interest, and then work with them either from player development or even just myself, and I know a few other guys like Chris and that would jump in where we can help these dads or moms get situated, get certified, and then can be resources to help us, because that was definitely a tricky area for this year's teams, is not having enough coaches.
A lot of recruiting calls Sunday
Yeah.
night for
So you're taking a lot on your plate right now. Let me challenge you with something for into next off season. A couple years ago, Casano arranged where we hosted an in-person CEP clinic here at the high school. Had a great turnout. It was one of the ones where you could certify level 1, 2, 3, or 4 by being there. You just, if you were level 1, you did so far into the day and then went to breakout groups. Start thinking that for a recruitment thing, because I think sometimes, even though it's all online now, the intimidation is not even knowing where to go or how to start. In-person CEP clinics are fabulous. The way they set it up is Coach Dabber had a room talking about body contact. Premier had a room talking about goalie development. Coach Holmes had a room talking about culture and things like that. Those are the type of activities that are gonna help you grow those numbers. That and don't turn anyone away. There was an email just this evening for somebody looking to add another coach to my roster. Like, our div spots are full, but he still wants to help out. Yes. Get certified and help.
Yeah.
Right? You can't have enough one-on-one instruction. You can have too many guys talking different languages, right? You gotta tell your head coaches, like, yeah, you can have 5 guys out there, but you have to set the tone, set the plan, and let them run the drills while you go and give one-on-one instruction and things that can help the players. But that would be something to start looking into for next fall.
Okay.
If we host one here, that might be a good way to maybe get a few more by taking some of that intimidation out of where to go out of the equation.
How many dibs does each team get?
Head coach, 3 assistant coaches,
So far.
a manager, and a finance manager.
So like, sorry, this is off topic, but for my team, could I have like a video person get dibs? Cause I already got my dibs, he's already got his dibs, he's my manager.
I want a video coach.
That's,
Mike wants a video coach. I say yes.
that's been done before, we've
Okay.
it's like you get this many dips,
Yeah.
how you allocate.
Tatum's fine, okay, I just wanted to make sure before I can go.
In the email you got earlier today for
Craig
coach,
says no.
one of the coaches was Cody, and
Even
he's
asked
already
you.
head coach on another team. So like, he doesn't have to, he can help on the ice since he's certified, but he doesn't have to like apply his dibs to that team, right?
Correct. Yeah, the dibs are perfect. So let's clarify that. We're not giving dibs to run the music. We're not giving dibs to open penalty box doors. We're not giving dibs to host a potluck. If you're using video as an actual coaching tool and you've got a video coach who is recording specific things, breaking that film out into clips and stuff for you to use and actually doing something that's a benefit to the players, then I would say yes. If they're just doing season cast, but they're doing a half-assed job of it because they're out at the car bar until 15 minutes into the game, I don't think that qualifies. Does that seem more fair, Craig? Cause that's more your
But for
concern, is
Rob,
that
no.
we just start giving them to everybody.
Jordan.
You get no.
Well, and I mean.
Cause I've got a
I
team
don't-
where
I
I'm
don't
giving
think
out
it's
one of
ever
my
bad.
4 dibs.
My whole stipulation is you want a Mike meltdown to happen, where you're gonna have people. You're gonna have 30 hours on the ice and you're gonna have 3 volunteers because you got a video. That's where I'm at with it. So it's you pick your poison. I mean, we hand them out. I'm fine handing them out. It's just that when you want people in that box selling a pretzel or a bag of popcorn and and they're not available because we've used them everywhere else, then, well, then you guys gotta step up, or we gotta increase our credits, or we gotta put our feet in somewhere, that's all.
Did we run out of dibs last year?
So,
Were you
2 years, I can only speak for 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years ago, we ran out of people.
Yep.
Last year, I was looking to give them, or looking to exhaust people, I guess,
So it's just dependent on the year, I guess.
and if there's a magic ball on how that's all derived, I haven't seen it, so.
I would love someone to find that magic
Yeah.
ball.
And
Cause it's a fair concern.
case in point, my meltdown 2 years ago, I spent 20 hours up there. I don't want an award, no pat on the back.
But it's not fair.
Julie, can you pat him on the back real quick? Thank you.
And actually, I could have spent more time on Saturday, but I left for my own kids'
Right.
skate. But that's where we're at, cause we've exhausted all the people. So,
I
That's
don't
fair.
know enough about how many dibs were allowed or how that process even works, so until I truly know that, I can't really say to help Craig and be like, yeah, like, this is right 2 years ago, or this is one, like, do we have somewhere where it shows all the dibs, how the process, like, I know when you and I were emailing, I was like, what do I do? Like, oh, man, like, you know what I mean? So like, the more we know how it works, the more that I could say, I could truly like, yeah, well, don't
Yeah.
give those out, or yeah, like, we need to promote them, you know what I mean? I don't know how that works.
Well, I think the determining factor ends up being how many teams there are, right? If
Okay.
you only have 4 teams at Squirts, that means you only got 20 sets of dibs going out. But if you go to 6 teams, now you got 28, right? So that's, I'm Farmington High graduate, whatever the math is, that's a lot of, that's a whole bunch of hours, that's that
Yeah.
Saturday, right?
But our teams are smaller, so I mean, it's a
Well,
one
and-
case, it's something to think about.
it came up a couple meetings ago, but the population of our skaters have gone down a little bit, and how do we recruit, so on and so forth. There's other repercussions to that too. So, if you got less parents, you got less volunteers. So, that's the only reason why I cringe.
Well, so put it on the record and it's not a free-for-all. Teams can contact their level coordinator about alternative coaching dibs and let's handle it case by case. Because I think in Rob's situation, my situation, Mike's situation, I don't need dibs, my finance manager doesn't need dibs, Prue doesn't need dibs. So we're literally using 1 set of dibs out of our 5. So like a second there isn't gonna make a big deal. Now, a team that's using all 4 coaching dibs, 2 manager dibs, looking to add a 6th or 7th set of dibs in there, that I think is gonna cause us a bigger problem.
Could we maybe start doing some sort of data dive too, to try and figure out based on I mean, we can average out how many people buy out, how many people we have, how many hours we're looking to try and fill every season, and then we can be a little more proactive maybe on the front end, to your point, like,
Yeah.
how many dibs do we actually have that are usable for due days? How many do we have that we can allocate for whatever, and then the board's gonna have to step up and cover the in-betweens.
I mean, you mentioned handbook too, if you look in the handbook, there is nothing about a video guy, video person.
Right.
I mean, you have this, that, and the other, I don't remember it all verbatim, but,
So head coach, 3 assistant coaches in operation.
and it all depends on level too. I think the lower level you get less.
Yeah, you just get 1.
One manager and 3 coaches.
So not to loop this all the way back into another thing, but we're gonna have a gray area for this handbook item, but not another one?
Well, no, I think that's what we're saying. is
That's what
that-
Craig's bringing
That's
up.
where
Right.
the problem lies.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to look.
No,
at it.
I understand, but the comment has already been made, we'll just go to your level coordinators, we'll use our discretion. Now we can have discretion, or?
Right.
I just see you say no right now, I mean, sorry, I mean, your videographer guy's great, and he's doing
Back to
something
new
for your
business
team.
1, we're gonna start with the dibs category, that'll be the assignment to come with your thoughts next month to discuss.
He's my assistant coach.
I'm not arguing against your.
Well, so then he
No,
doesn't need
your
dibs.
point's valid though.
Yeah.
Your point's valid, cause if we agree right now to gray area that, we're gonna go back to the other conversations and make a decision. So that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair, but,
But I think too, to the point of then having that handbook discussion, if we could do a little data dive and try to figure out, so we're not just blindly making a decision on how many dibs we're gonna allocate how many, what do we truly need, what is our need, and can we,
so,
This has been the problem for 6 years, it's a pendulum every year, we don't have enough, we have too many, we don't have enough.
but we've never dug in.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying, to your
I
point.
think the hardest part of this will be the first time, once we get the formula built,
Right.
then we've got it, it's just, that'll be the second part is that
Plug
first.
in how many registers,
Yep.
less the buyouts.
you forecast for how X number of high school games, X number of home games, you forecast all of it, and,
The work is in setting.
yeah, it ain't gonna be, you're not gonna have it 100% accurate.
No.
It's gonna have to be
But
adjusted
you're
It's
gonna
gonna be
have
adjusted year to year.
you're gonna have a better idea that,
Get close.
can we have the discussion about adding an extra dip to a team, so.
Beautiful. Alright, my last one, stealing the floor. So again, we had real good evaluation process this last weekend, it was great, a lot of positive feedback. I got an interesting, question from a parent just saying, hey, this is great, is there a way where I can see my kid's score, just theirs, and understand where did they maybe not do so well, so that I can start, whether I wanna help them in the off season, whether it was stops and starts, whether it was transitions and that stuff. I know we just started it, so I was like, breathe, this is the first opportunity that we're getting numbers. But it does make an interesting comment where if there is some kind of, again, we'd have to build something to track it, right? But it is an interesting way to help back to our parents saying, this is where we saw it.
I
So,
think we could just stick with feedback, say, hey, based on the scores, you could be a little stronger at skating, I think if you start
This-
giving out scores.
has come up
This is the
every
question
single
every year, everybody questions their
People
team
start
placement,
sharing scores.
what
And
am I
what
see?
the discussion we've
And
had.
it would not be a
will
number score, it would be like, he's either below average, average, or above average. I don't think you ever give out the actual numbers, cause yes, I agree to that 100%, Chris. You don't want someone like, oh, well, my kid's a 5, what happened to your kid? I'm like, no. But like, yeah.
You don't
Well,
show
one
the
of
other
the-
people's scores and that number means nothing.
But one of the things that we've talked about in the past that is more valuable than having evaluation or tryout feedback is having coaches give a start of the season, mid-season, and end season feedback to their players based on what they are seeing, because they are seeing them far more than someone that sees them in a couple tryout sessions or a few eval sessions. And we've been trying to come up with systems and ways to get that so that coaches can do that in an easier way. And that's the next step we have to look at with Team Genius now too, that we have for upper level, we don't have it for lower levels yet. But is utilizing that as a tool that families can go and look at and the coach can have a discussion with players and families. Here's where you're at now, here's where I'd like to see you go. Mid-season, here's where I wanted you to go, here's where you're at, here's where I want you to go next. But I think we just have to do some work in training our coaches on what
Right,
that
we've
looks like.
obtained a tool to facilitate this. Is there a larger conversation about what do we share coming out of the tryouts? Yes, but I think at the end of the day, the answer to that is not what our evaluators give them, because you know what, they've got that small window, small sample size. As we learn Team Genius, learn how to execute it and use it within our coaching staffs, figure out how does a coach take their notes during tryouts on there, get those notes as a starting point, and then as you're introducing your team or you spend time with your players and tell them, hey, hey, I know you wanted to be a B1 player, you're a B2 this year, but here's the areas you need to work the most on, and here's how we're gonna get there, and here's how I can help you, and then here's how you're progressing. End of the season, here's where you were, here's where you finished, here's the areas, and, I know this is a good program to learn skating, this is a good program for, and start providing guidance, so we've taken a step towards it by obtaining the tool, now we just have to refine the use of that tool to make sure it's there. I think it's such a slippery slope that it's not even worth delving into to talk about turning over the scores of the independent evaluators, because the second you do that, they go, well, we're no longer independent or anonymous, so you can find someone else.
I mean, that's why the scores don't hold, that's why we pay the money to hire somebody and we don't take on the scores is for that reason. So we can say we don't have them.
I just was curious if the board has ever considered, I could go either way, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, but you could just force rank too, like, don't show, people get attached to scores and numbers. Like, when I do with my players, it's just, I force rank it, like, here's an area, this is your strongest to weakest. And then that just goes with them, so like, if you want an answer as a parent, be like, you're just not as strong a skater, or you're not as cerebral as the other players, that would be a huge differentiator between a bubble player and a top end player. Don't show the score, just here's a force rank, and there's almost no risk there. I'm not saying you wanna do that, but that's a way to go, and that's giving information if the parent wants it, and also not giving them something to gossip about or whatever, it's just real. So like, just something to think about if you haven't talked about it.
Just good feedback.
Thank you.
That's it for me. I'll be quiet now.
Alright, thanks, Scott. Conversation. We'll go to committee updates, Melissa, you got anything from the tryout?
Yeah,
Debrief one?
I kind of mentioned this before, but we met last week, and we just did an initial listing of things that we need to debrief on from upper level tryouts, because we were still prepping for lower level evals, so we simply, while it was fresh in our minds, made a list of everything that we need to go through and review as we start thinking about this process already for next year. Some of those, as I mentioned, relate to the handbook and things that have been brought up here tonight, that we need to take a look at. Other things are around evaluators and things with those pieces, so we just brainstormed. I think we have probably 15 to 20 items that we need to go back and kind of look at and address from that process. So in our next meeting, we'll kind of start to dive into that, but we also need to do a similar process for our lower level evals that just got done. So that's where our committee is headed here for our November meeting.
Yeah, and there's some feedback from parents coming out of it that did provide some actionable items and things that'll be part of that review, so lower level feedback that we're getting to, don't just dismiss it as complaining, and also don't just be like, okay, this is just part of the process. Look for those opportunities, what can we find that's actionable out of it that would make a change or make a difference, whether it's pick pool or how we contact teams, whatever it may be. So, good stuff. Scott, back to you.
You said you were done.
I know, I spoke too quick. So, player development, getting practice plans all gathered, for sure, we'll have all those up, hopefully by the end of the week now, we'll TBD on the Crossbar site. But, we'll have the mini mites, so ponies basically, we'll have mite, we'll have squirt, we have peewees and bantams. Rob, that's for you.
Thanks.
I know you were looking for that. And then obviously, we'll start still meeting, I know Nick's out of town, but we wanna start obviously setting up where there's potentially like check-ins, where the coaches were going obviously to the practices, making sure they feel adequately resourced, having any questions, anything along those lines, but doing a little bit more, I won't say hand-holding, but just being there as a resource for the coaches to help out and make sure that they're not feeling like they're on an island, so. Also, kind of waiting on, I know we still haven't really had an update in a while on the high school shooting, all that stuff. I think that's still in process, and that, waiting to hear back on that. And then obviously with dry land and all that, with the lower levels, we'll get that information once Dakota's had a chance to go through and book everybody and get that all squared away. But I know there'll be some dry land opportunities for the lower level teams as well.
Yep, and when you looking at drills and, when you start talking about the peewees and the bantams and system stuff, Coach May and Coach Holmes would love to hear from you, give you some input and what they can share with their systems and that, so even if it's just the language behind it, because a Pee-wee D2 might not be able to do the system, but at least start familiarizing with language and stuff. Coach May and I briefly texted about that the other day, so we're looking forward to.
We'll make sure to circle back, and that's a great point,
Yep.
so.
And we'll probably pass that to the coach committee more than.
Yeah, I don't know, yeah, that's
Do
weird.
we have a weekend that the lower levels are shooting to start?
We're trying,
Officially,
trying to go
Typically,
next
it's not
weekend,
this
but
weekend, but the following.
Yeah.
it's usually that last weekend, right?
we're
Okay.
trying to go next week, but
Yeah.
Dakota's working on it now, and it might not be till
Yeah,
first week.
she was safe to, well, I won't even, she was safe to say 11/2 was official, but she was pushing to get next week
Oh, gotcha.
and try and get us, but it all depends on how everything else shaped out, so.
Yep, darn squirt game schedules. They're close, they're close. Alright, are you talking for John too?
He did not tell me to talk about that one, so I'm gonna punt it.
His only note was just that, the upper level teams and lower level teams coaches have all been there. Lindsay sent out an update today on CEPs and the status of board and coaches, so forwarded that out, asked level coordinators, review your list, start contacting them coaches with items now. Make sure they're signed up or have a plan, otherwise we drop our coaching numbers on January 1st and that's not good for the kids. The other part is ice hockey systems and huddle discussion, and he had, so I don't know, I was gonna speak for him, but they're together at a game. Am I allowed to motion or no?
I can do it.
Somebody else.
I don't know what the amount was though.
So I don't know what it is for, I know Huddle-
Will come in under that.
Huddle is $400 per, or that's what it was last year, was $400.
That's
per
for the
team.
basic plan.
For the basic, and then if they want Huddle assist the team, last year, that's how we did it, the team purchased that part of it.
How many teams are gonna?
And was that who?
Last year with Huddle, we have three teams, I think, that used Huddle.
And they all used them
Yeah,
like consistently? I know we've had this in the past where we did video stuff and like nobody ever
So-
used it.
so that's why we wanna shift away on ice hockey systems, we were paying for 30 users, I
Yeah,
think.
that was just if you use
And
it.
we
reimbursed.
had less than 5 that were using it consistently.
Well, on Mike's behalf, I guess I'll motion for up to $3,000 for ice hockey systems and huddle.
Together,
Together.
or, so 3,000 total for both?
Yeah.
Or- Okay,
And do we want to do ice hockey systems as a reimbursable? That way people have some skin in the game before they just say yes and then never
Yes.
even log in and use it.
Just to just reimbursement. I should ask Melissa, she's got a deal with it.
so the only thing I'll say with that, whoever's going to send that information out to coaches, I don't know if they wanna send it to me first and I can add in my little piece, but we have a reimbursement form, and this year I'm not gonna reimburse anybody unless they fill out that form. Because it takes me so long, if they're not in our system, I'm then emailing back and forth for address and this and that, or you're missing a receipt, and that form just has everything laid out on it. So I wanna make sure that form goes out with it, and that they know that you have to have a receipt or an invoice in that form to get a reimbursement.
Isn't it easier just to have the team manager collect funds for the few teams that want it and they can buy it themselves? Why put it through us? I mean, the team managers have budgets, they have checkbooks.
Because the other pushback we always get is, what are we providing?
This is an opportunity for us to provide a tool for coaches. I think that's something that we should provide, or as Ryan says, we owe them jerseys and frozen water, but I think resources to coaches is important.
And I would also, I mean, we can motion for it, and that's fine, then we're covered, but I would also assume there's probably still money in their budget under that.
Can it, I was gonna say, can it be a shared system within
Yeah,
within teams?
So you can create yours as your team name and share that password with your entire coaching staff. You absolutely can do that. Also, I'll tell John, like, we gotta figure out how do we, you can set up your association as a group in there, so practice plans can be shared. When I make all of mine shareable, I'm not saying they're good or anything, but if you got nothing else, they're there. But there is a way to share drills and practice plans and all that kind of stuff.
But to your point, we'll have to be clear that it's one per team.
Well, and I was just gonna say for IHS, if we buy like 10, we can all just create like a login sheet and people can go in and log in. I don't think you need to give every coach a reimbursement in IHS.
But that's how we did it before, and then it didn't get
Okay.
used.
Right.
That's why this would,
Okay.
Yeah,
Put
if there's
some
only
skin in the
8
game
coaches that
for
are actually gonna
actually-
use it, then
if
let's
you
just buy it for
truly
the
want it,
kids.
you'll go through the process of getting rid of it.
I was just trying to think, you know, I mean, Duffy, where it's like, hey, I'll give you my account, like, here's my password, log in, go use it, it's all for the same at the end, and the nice part is, you can go out and draw on the drills that you want for free, it's just some of the drills that are locked
Yeah.
within the purchase price, but
Well, and when you get deeper into it, right, there's video clips,
Yep.
they'll show a video clip and then
As long as we're
some
cool with it,
drills
that's
and
all,
stuff that go with it. You know, the players like to get that, you said it drew me to the parents, like, hey, watch this clip, and then all of a sudden you go to your next game and the kids do what they saw in the clip, and it's like, hey.
it's fair. I try to save money,
So Rob's motion up to 3,000 to cover technology, ice hockey systems and huddle for coaches, is there a second? Second from Scott, all in favor? Good, passes. We'll task, John with figuring out the logistics of getting us set up as an association, so, or, if, you know, if it's gotta be one of our coaches, I've already got an account, if it's me, it has to approve, you know, if Rob requests to join it or whatever, we'll encourage them to do that so we can share things. Alright, covers that, unless anything on budget, finance.
All I was gonna touch on is because the finance reports were from September and some of the final numbers from golf and beer bash and things didn't actually go in until October. So I was able to kind of calculate out the final numbers of that. So it looks like as of right now, unless there's any other things that come across that hadn't been put in yet, the golf tournament made around $23,000. To put that into perspective, in the past, we've made between $10,000 to $12,000.
Nice job.
Now, with that though, when I give you the next number for beer bash,
Well, yeah, that one was really sad.
which I'm at a total of $51.50.
Yes.
But with that being said, I put all the profits of the silent auction to the golf tournament, because there's no way to really know what came from which. So, I mean, I'm sure some of the building up of the funds of those silent auction items came from the beer bash,
100% it did, cause people were watching it all day on Saturday and.
but who's to say that we wouldn't have gotten that from
Right.
being online? So, who knows?
Is there anything, like, other than like people, do we just need more people showing up for the beer bash, is that?
Yeah, the timing of it.
It was just the timing.
The timing of it was
You
what
know,
it
I mean, like,
And I think we don't do back-to-back
Well,
dates.
that and just
Because I think
high school hockey at beer bashes, everybody was
think with
doing
the
the same
beer
type of
bash-
events at the same time.
your
We'll
beer
get there.
bash moneymaker isn't people buying tickets to come to the beer bash. Your beer bash moneymaker is the silent auction. But now we tied the silent auction into a whole nother event,
Yeah.
and now so have they been two separate events with two separate silent auctions months apart from each other? It probably would have been a different story.
And silent auction is about 7,800, does that sound right?
Yeah. There were some fees that people didn't
Yeah, we
pay in,
missed
so we were down
clicking, we
to.
missed clicking that to force that, I saw, I
Yeah.
noticed that.
So we had 200 in fees taken out, so it was 76.
But you could look at doing the beer bash, you know, in August, right?
But the beer bash was fun.
Yeah. But you look at doing it at a separate time when
Yeah,
high
we didn't
schools,
lose.
boosters
Yeah,
aren't
no,
about to line them up one after another, and wrestling's gonna have one, cause, you know, people are only gonna go to so many of those
but
events.
even silent auction aside, we did much better at golf
Correct.
alone.
Yeah,
I mean, just the fact that we were able to make a profit off the registration. That we couldn't before, that helps.
so yeah, for next year, I think we revisit those numbers that for sponsorships and stuff.
Yeah, we'll, you know, from a golf perspective, we'll start talking now about
Yeah.
what we charge to sponsor and tiers and all that. I think we were a little under what we could have charged, and still kept the same amount of participation, but
Yeah.
we can talk about it.
Did you factor in, because the one tier had jerseys in there, did you take out the jersey price out of there?
No,
So the So this is the first year doing that.
That's in there and we didn't change the dollar amount really. So it's kind of a wash, however you look at it.
Awesome, it's good news.
Yeah, that's huge.
Alright, Tina, tell us how we're gonna make more money.
Alright, so,
Show us the money.
Peggy's just went out, Amy sent that out to everyone, to the upper level team managers and finance managers. Orders have to be in by November fifth. Parents pickup will be at 5:30 at Bachman on December fifth. We will need board members there to help count. It is on your Google Calendar, and the truck will be there at the school at 4:30. So, again, this is,
So
You don't-
one thing, last year, Craig, you weren't there to get credit when this came up in a conversation the other day, but the system worked good. I think at 4:30, I think we start with a smaller team to inventory the truck, then have the rest of the team come at 5 when it's time to start sorting it out. We should be able to get everyone processed between 5:30 and 6:30.
It's a small note, but if those guys could pallet jack those, off the truck, that was huge last year. We had to,
like if they brought something with them.
Yeah, they brought a lift
So
gate
they-
truck
yeah,
so they
they-
could drop it to the ground, so then
right,
we could unload the truck, inventory it without having to count each box as it came off. It'd
So you
probably
just want the
save
truck to have
45
that same
minutes.
thing?
right.
Yeah,
Lift gates.
lifts it.
Because 2 years ago, we had to we had to lift boxes off the truck and then hand them to
Oh,
each
good
other.
lord.
Yeah, it was.
And then inventory of
Yeah,
it.
and then inventory, and that was just time consuming.
Lift
Because
gates.
if they don't come with a lift gate, then you need all those people there.
Yeah, right, okay. I will,
I didn't ask the guy if you
Cause
could.
it was
I'll make sure
very
it's
cold
the
that year.
gal that we use.
Yeah, it was super cold that year too.
But
I think
last
it
year,
was-
and last year was semi-warm, and now it's like, now you gotta get these pies somewhere because they're gonna fall.
Yeah, right.
So it's, I think the year before, snowed.
The pictures are, Micah has them set for October 22nd and then December 10th.
So next week, already?
Yeah, so Dakota must not have sent anything out yet.
It's just published since we sat down here.
Huh?
It's just published calendar since we sat down.
Okay. And then, I'll work with Micah to see, or have her, see if she can help me, and we'll have to work with Dakota too to do an all association picture, and Tim, it may have to be the end of the season.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay,
Well,
Cause
the
we
one
gotta-
out
we
there
gotta-
is
we gotta
7, 8
find-
years old.
we gotta find
It'd be
ice,
cool to have it
and,
going.
before the ice goes out, and then we gotta find a time where we can get the majority of the association in the picture, so.
Does it make sense to do it by team? Can she crop that in, like, can we do it by team and crop it into a huge photo or no? Cause then she just sets up.
Probably, cause Micah asked that question, and I thought Tim wanted a,
Well, no, like each team could literally just go out and at their practice time, is
She just comes.
just take a picture on the ice and.
She could do her thing.
Cause I think trying to get everybody there at the rink,
it's gonna be a nightmare.
Our parking lot isn't big enough, let's be honest.
Last time we didn't have that parking lot though.
Yeah, and there was enough room.
Alright, I'll have to work with Micah and Terry and see if we can come up with something. Okay.
yeah.
And then, I reached out to Lee Engstrom and, for, helmet decals. And it would be the Tigers and then the state, and then probably want Tigers in the front. So we just came, this is a proof on there that he gave us. I like that first top Tiger on the left. And it was gonna be, $4 a player, minimum purchase of 300.
300 players or $300?
300 decals.
So if we got
A set,
300, it'd be
yes.
$1,200, if you did 400, it'd be $1,600.
Good math.
I thought we could just order them last year.
Yeah, last year we just shared a link and let
Yeah,
people order
but
from him.
here's what happens, Lee's having to make one at a time when he gets one order, and there's $6, I think now there's $6.50 for
Well,
one.
you just have an order window and then you make them all after the.
And then it's $12 to ship them, $6 to ship them, so now they're paying $12.50 for a helmet decal. we've provided them in the past.
So, so here's the couple logistical challenges that would need to be ironed out to do it from when we buy them and distribute them. How are, and when and where are they gonna get distributed? Jordan's still driving around with mouth guards hanging out the back of his truck. The arena does not want them sitting at the window.
No.
We don't wanna sit at the window checking them off as they're picked up.
Well, I said
My
we do.
Pee Wee team, first day in the locker room, all the first years walked in, saw the second years don't have the decals all over their helmet, they all peeled them off. The Bantams, they don't wear them. So, we have how many lower level players did we just evaluate?
If you did ponies, mites, and U8, you got 182 according to Crossbar. If you include squirts and U10, it goes up to 258.
Ponies, you have
Is that
ponies?
What's that?
Did you include ponies?
Yes.
And I mean, I think Scott, what we do is you put, might one orange and you put 14 in a thing and, you know. You give them to the manager or have a pickup time at the rink, I mean, yeah, I agree that they probably shouldn't sit at the rink or, anything like that, but.
Oh, yeah.
But then the question comes, do we need 300?
Well, I mean, wouldn't you just
I mean-
rent the Mike ones then, cause don't Mike twos have them already? Don't Mike
No,
twos
not
already?
necessarily, I mean, and then we have a squirt C team that has a lot of new players, brand new, that probably do not have decals, so, I mean, we
And
can.
that's why last year we went to buy them if you want, cause everybody, you get them issued your first year mites, you outgrow your helmet and that, like trying to figure out. So some players on that team need them, but we're wasting money by buying them for kids that already.
I'm not saying that.
Amount the year prior to that, and I don't even know what ever happened to them, we had a huge stack that.
They said
We
we
had
do it
pushback
back
on the
wherever.
$12, I mean, on the $12 per family.
I'm sure Lee's not gonna negotiate that because again, when he
No,
would rather
that's
make,
the
he would rather make
I'm not trying to
300.
negotiate it with him,
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
saying, is anyone saying that's way too expensive? I want decals.
They've never been shipped to our families.
Last year.
I mean,
They were.
Yeah.
And I could, I'm not like.
I guess the way,
I
I guess
paid
the
the
way
$12
I look
no
at
way
it
should I
is
just
that
get getting my stickers?
we always talk about wanting to give the lower levels, feel like they get something, and it's $4 for a bundle of stickers, I mean, I don't know, I guess I'm looking at it differently
Right.
than everybody
I'm
else.
just looking at it
Buy
from what do you do with the other
concessions.
130 of them that you pay for?
Cause then we'll never lose that money.
Well, I mean, again, we can go around of some of the
Want it
uppers,
this way?
do you have them, do you not, I don't know.
Why don't we just sell them in the concession stand? Buy 300 of them and sell them in the concession stand.
You want me to buy them?
I like that.
Or you
And
can
listen,
say
they don't sell out.
Listen,
It
you
sounds
can
Not a
say-
bad approach.
Get 'em ordered.
How do you feel? Makes sense. Okay with you.
Yeah, you just gotta add a tab, right?
Should be able to run
And
a report.
then we just tell the families if they want decals, they're up at the concession stand.
That's the least
That's a
advertising
resident
you can do.
I
line.
mean,
They're $5.
I would rather just.
Good, we keep it around for a
Like
reason.
one
That's a good one.
orange,
I like it.
one black, here's your.
Matt would be
choice.
rolling around in his presidential parade right now.
Try and.
You guys wanted
I
everybody to
spent
be
half my
uniform.
time
You still
choosing
want her to come
one
back?
over it.
Tina, did you hear?
No.
Buy them in bulk and just sell them at the concession stand.
Sure, well, I mean, if that's what you wanna do, that's fine.
I know.
I think it takes the logistical nightmares out of it.
I still
still
feel
give them a
like we
discount.
should still give them to the might ones coming in,
Yes, I agree.
and the ponies coming in, I mean, that's just my thought.
So
Well,
would
I
you,
think you have to pick one and then that's like
That's when
you're
you
in.
Pick the.
I would do
pick
it
the
at
might
Mite one, cause
Right.
at ponies,
Their
you've
helmets
got
are
every
too
color
small.
helmet under the
But
sun.
what
plus
do you,
bike
what do you do for the brand new might 2 parent, or might 3 parent, cause they're
Go
already
to the
brand new.
concession stands and drop $6 on a set of stickers.
Okay.
Wow, it's gone from 5 to 6.
$4.
No, we're paying 4.
Yeah, we're paying for, we gotta make a buck.
Maybe we don't make
We
a,
don't
maybe
necessarily
we
have
don't
to.
make profit on them. Get a free hot dog with a price sticker.
Or maybe
No,
a
no,
slushy.
no, no.
How about a slushy, huh? Half off
Hey,
slushy.
Buy
There
a
goes your
$20
video
bus fare for
offer.
$25, we'll throw it in the back of stickers.
How are you voting? on the
Giving away hot dogs.
Buy some stickers,
Uh,
get a slushie.
So,
are we motioning
let's get back on
for-
track.
What's our plan here?
Yep.
Get a motion for money?
Somebody wants to
What's the
motion.
magical number, is it 300?
I say start with 300.
Huh?
$1,200 is.
Yes.
give them to the white
I bet you he sells 89 of them and we have 211 for next year.
There we go.
I bet so, but somebody going to motion money to.
I motion to buy 300 stickers
We need $1.
$1,200.
for $1,200.
Does that sales
Once you go
tax?
up to 13, make sure you're covering, any shipping expense that may or may not exist in there.
No, I just did.
I'm assuming Lee would bring them to one
If
of
I
us.
have to, I can go pick up a box of decals and bring them to the concession stand.
Matt is,
Yeah, we're-
Yeah.
we're
I
related.
second the
they're
motion.
related.
Okay, in favor?
Mr. Hot Dog, you better
Good.
raise your hand.
It's good.
We don't miss one.
Place the order.
Okay.
We'll send you the name and info that.
Yeah, I'll have them email Melissa that question.
Check.
Yep, alright, perfect.
Alright, cool.
Yep.
Amanda, you got anything for tournaments?
Nope,
I know you're out there working hard to find the 15A tournament.
yeah, I haven't found, I've got two done, two local, but not an out of town yet, so.
Did we ever hear back on the Fargo invitation, or was I sleeping on that one?
Oh, for the squirt?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 teams are in, so we're good.
And we got refunds.
For the others,
The
okay,
other
good. That we had to prepay, yeah.
free refund,
Yes,
just so you know.
okay, awesome.
Alright, Jordan?
Mike and Pony jerseys are in, I'm gonna sort through them this week, I'll meet up with Cornwall probably Sunday. We're gonna categorize them by team, distribute it to coaches, managers, meeting.
Well, and thank you for the diligence all around from you guys making sure sponsors are aligned with where their kids are. That's
You guys need any help, just let me know.
that's a good thing. I still have, North Bear painting one for you.
Oh, sweet.
I saved it.
Thank you.
Your TVs
You're the best.
My garage.
during Black Friday.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Alright,
Finding my company.
facilities. I guess, for as far as facility goes, Jordan kind of threw my name on there anyways, looking to meet with the city on Friday, Park and Rec Director and Jeremy, the arena manager, to go through and kind of give them our punch list, so if you got some ideas, go ahead and send them my way between now and then. They did put in the new lights in, October, supposed to go in September, but they were supposed to hang our banners. Our banners gotta get hung, there's a plexiglass on the north end behind the net that's broken and sharp edges where players are playing, it's gotta get fixed. Those are kind of my two big sticking points right now with them.
I've known about that since April.
Yes, they have. So if you guys have other laundry list items for the arena, send them to me before Friday so I can add them to the list, cause they're not getting their check until they could give me a commitment or progress on addressing those items. Some of the banners, it's been over 2 years, it's stupid, like it's time to hang them. So,
I think it just had scissor lifts there.
right, and they didn't do it, and the new ones are sitting in the office now too, grommets in them, ready to go, so. That'll be Friday, so if you got items, I'm sure there's more, we're gonna walk through the whole thing. Just make sure you share those between now and then. And then, the treadmill, we'll talk about that at, in old business, update there. Anything else, missing?
Update on the feasibility study is rolling, we have a list of questions. I delegated a few members, received an email from you today with questions, just so I didn't have to sit and answer them all. Let's try to get questions back to them by Friday, so we can keep the thing moving.
Bert?
Yeah.
And Tiger Toe and grievance?
No, nothing.
Well, now you might have one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's fine. Level updates, lower level, I think you guys covered it pretty well, but thank you for the efforts and the work to have that evaluation process be really strong. I've heard nothing but positive feedback coming out of it, it's nice work with that. U10, Amanda, you got anything? I know they're playing their first game today.
No, thank you.
Second,
Where is that game, does anybody know?
Schmitz Mackey. I dropped it on the Golden Gear form earlier. Squirts, we did run into an issue with, just a mistake in registration. We had a player that didn't try out, showed up day one as a third goalie on the team.
But didn't register.
Yeah, and they had registered as a skater.
It didn't try out as a bully.
Didn't try out at all.
Didn't try out at all.
Yeah, did some due diligence on it, I went to a practice, worked with the goalies for an hour, they're all three appropriately placed and leveled. Had met with all three families, all of them super awesome, wanna be part of the solution, agreed to rotate skating out, and playing goalie on a rotation, the rotating practices. Great families, right, they were like, hey, you know what, things happen, let's find a solution for it. The one thing that comes up then is their skater jerseys don't fit over goalie pads, right? So now we've got kids that we can't just roster a number 0 and change what player is assigned to that number. So they're wondering if there's anything our board is willing to do to support, the cost of the jerseys, that they're gonna need additional jerseys to have a goalie jersey and a skater jersey. One of the three has both. The numbers aren't the same, but I don't think that's such a big deal for rostering. But we're looking at, you know, is there a way we can get, does anyone know offhand, like if we got an unnumbered goalie jersey for them, can they just rotate that and just your goalie on the roster in game sheet has no number? Does that work? I don't think it matters for the USA Hockey registration, as long as they're on the roster, they're on the roster. It's gonna be more for the game sheet in District 8.
Maybe a wrap question?
Well, it just might be weird if, one goalie gets suspended, number 0 got suspended.
Right.
And then he can't touch that jersey.
Well, that's why it's almost like having the number they're rostered as and having them have a goalie set in that number is almost the best solution.
Could you see if Tally could give us a discount, like, because it's a kind of a unique situation, if we ordered them a skater jersey, this is, you know, they have the
It
gold.
would make more sense to order them, just need 2 skater jerseys.
Now,
Yeah,
we
that's
would
all.
need- we would need 2 sets of skater jerseys and a set of goalie jersey.
Why do we
But they
They already have one, right?
Because it's a different number.
They can't use the same number.
The kid that skated out last year and is now a goalie this year has got a different number this
How's
year.
that happen?
When he ordered goalie jerseys, he got a different number.
But is there already another skater at that number? We gotta be careful with that.
Good question. Just opinion wise, if it stays under the threshold where I can just approve it, does anyone have an issue if we help them out with jerseys?
No.
Okay, it's gonna be at most 3 sets, it's gonna come in
I
under
like
that
goalies,
number.
we wanna keep them happy.
Right, okay.
Great goalies.
So I just wanna make sure that everyone's on board and doesn't have a grave concern if we, you know, these guys were willing to help be part of the solution, if we offer them a little bit of a helping hand. Okay, I will work on that and just, Jordan, I'll loop you in when it's time to place the order, see if they give us a little relief. And I don't know, is that something we just add to our list for Louis Schmitz asking for a donation later?
It can just fall under the jersey budget.
Yeah, okay. And I have their numbers and stuff, so I'll get the work on that.
Yep, yep.
Alright, U12 and U15, the only update is that we're still on track with the Hastings Co-op tryouts first weekend in November after high school tryouts wrap up.
Will they be, will Hastings host or will we host?
We're hosting. We are hosting A, they're hosting B. So there'll be a team at each level. The players are gonna register through their own associations, so we'll have to make sure, so Hastings just charges them $1,500, it covers all their tournaments and ice time. We'll just make sure that Hastings is paying us for the ice bills for that portion of it, for those players that are from Hastings playing here. And then our players that are playing over there, we'll make sure that Hastings is collecting an ice bill from them to offset, so nobody's knocking on our door in 2 years going, hey, we need ice bill money. So I got there, Chris, you heard anything in 2 weeks? Okay. Phantoms, Rob, you're good?
Yeah.
Junior gold, we'll figure out in a couple weeks here. Alright, as far as old business, just an update with the treadmill. I know we're looking to rehome that sooner than later. We're working with the city on the location there. Obviously, there's some concerns from the city with that, that aren't as simple as, well, we'll just put a fence and a lock on it, right? They got their insurance agent, their lawyers, their city planners, everyone involved. So the city has a list of 6 non-negotiables as a starting point, that if we're not going to meet them on these, we're not even gonna they're not even gonna move forward with drafting the rest of the use agreement, to keep it there, so. The non-negotiables from the city that we have to commit to them that we're willing to play ball on, or this thing is going to need a different home, are as follows. The association needs to have a general liability insurance in the minimum amount of $1 million per occurrence and 2 million annual aggregate. City must be added as an additional insured to it. The association needs to agree to defend and indemnify the city for any claims related to the use of the treadmill. Association must have property coverage on the treadmill and waive any claim against city for damage to or loss of the treadmill, including theft, so we would have to insure the treadmill and the user. We would have to provide the city with an annual certificate of insurance showing the proof of insurance. And then, the leasee, which is us, would, have to represent that we are satisfied with the security of the arena and the premises for protection of the property which may be owned, held, stored, or otherwise caused or permitted by leasee to be present on the premises. So, basically, we have to say that, yeah, we take all responsibility for this equipment, and we will provide insurance that makes sure that the city cannot take any liability for anything that may happen regarding that equipment.
Which our USA Hockey coverage, I think, covers their,
That was not good enough for them.
well, that's who our policy is through.
Right.
Why would we go buy another policy when we already have
So
one?
if kid gets hurt on the ice, that's fine, but if he gets hurt on the treadmill, they want another policy.
Right,
Correct.
I mean, that to me.
What I
is
explained to them
absolutely-
is that we are insured through USA Hockey, that
Well, they
all
would,
users would be part of
and
an
they would
organized
get a
team.
certificate, and they would be named on the certificate.
Or-
The certificate holder would be the city of Farmington.
Only on indemnification, they haven't drafted a contract yet, but we might, if it's not mutual and the city employee leaves the gate open and someone if we would wanna protect ourselves as an association, that if we didn't like, we'll indemnify the city, but if the city causes something to happen for a
There's
claim,
also
we
neglect
don't want-
on their part.
That's right.
It can't fall.
And I think if we have a fence, I don't, there's exposure there. If they're like, well, if our employee screws up, it's still not our fault. So that's just something to think
The
about.
only thing this policy won't cover is the property piece that they're looking for.
Right.
That would be a separate policy, but everything they are looking for in terms of liability is through our certificate coverage through
So,
USA Hockey.
so I'll go find that.
And all I
Get that.
do is email our rep there and he will put them on as the certificate holder.
And you'll do it for that $1 million, 2 million aggregate.
That's what our,
Well, a cert holder is different than an additional insured.
then,
So which might cause our policy to go, I'm in trucking, so I just know a lot about insurance, so, that's another thing to ask too.
So,
Would that be the same if we put it here? Or is that different? We have
no,
no.
I'm sure the high school would have, the school district would probably have a list of requirements and legalities to review also.
And are we looking at, have we started
Yeah,
that
how about women's sport?
process to ask them? I mean, I'll say my.
No, I got this information from the city at 9 o'clock this morning.
Right now.
Well, no, I know Casano gave us an update, we sent out an email saying, hey, here's some of the things that they're trying to look at and get, but I'd like us to still look at the high school. My fear, and being up there, that's wedging something in between two doors, that's gonna be wedged in, we're now gonna put a fence around it, and to try have team players up there trying to get up there, skate, things gonna be running during it, it's gonna distract players down, I mean, I just wanna make sure this is a great tool that we just went out and bought for our players. The last thing I wanna do is.
The high school space conversation will resume on November 5th.
Okay.
It needs to
Fair enough.
be, it needs to be out of its current
Back
storage
in
spot
the
by
day.
October 31st.
The high school conversation is dead in the water until the referendum vote.
Where is it right now?
In my shop, that's closing. For free, but free ends soon.
Correct. How much space is it taking up right now?
It's like 9 by 9
Okay.
and then a pile of steel.
Okay.
So, I mean, Farmington storage is pretty cheap. I don't know what else you guys would do.
Yeah,
I think you get one for a couple months to buy yourselves time. You don't want to move it a bunch of times, but.
right.
No, that's.
Right, but we're not gonna get enough traction here in this building until after the referendum. USA Hockey, and then I'll have a conversation with them, find out what they can provide, make sure that's acceptable to the city. If it's not, then we have to start talking about what the next course of action is, obviously shopping rates or whatever.
Totally. I mean, I just like Chris's point though, I mean, the fact that they wanted us to take full accountability, and the fact that there's none, and we've sometimes seen some of the stuff that goes on at the rink.
They're gonna climb that fence.
Yeah.
Who's they, the employees?
No, the kids.
Maybe,
And the parents don't watch them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen that one.
yeah.
Employees.
I just think there's
Employees
a lot
might, I mean, you
of
never know, they're like, I
work
want
to
on
go
that thing.
through.
Yeah.
And to Ryan's point, we need somewhere to put it because this is gonna be months. of
This isn't
work.
going to get resolved.
I
in
think
3
Casal's
weeks.
garage.
Yep.
It ain't gonna fit.
It might, they might, I don't know what our terms through, like, additional insurance might not be a big deal. Generally speaking, as long as you have a contract, it's not a huge deal that calls out the terms but, generally speaking, unilateral indemnity is not a great thing for one party, so.
Do we need a motion to get a storage locker, put this thing in so we can do it right? I agree with Scott, I think we should wait at least and see till the referendum passes.
I would
with the
think it would be a
school board.
good idea, because our free storage runs
Yeah.
out in 2 weeks here, and none of
We don't
this is
have a
gonna
choice.
resolve that quick.
I will make a motion that we should run a storage locker to get this out of Ryan's shop right now, so we can work for an appropriate solution up to 12 months.
Do we have a dollar amount?
I think it's like $125 a month, so.
125 a month?
No,
It depends on the
Went up?
size.
Depends on the
we
size.
paid
Depends on the
$200
size.
and some dollars.
What's our
for the
current
one we
storage
have.
number?
Probably $260, I think we pay a
What
month.
is that?
Three
20 by
grand.
10?
I'll take all the stuff in
Probably
the locker,
somewhere
so in my garage.
Probably.
$100 a month. Sorry.
$2,400, we paid $2,400.
Yeah, just take the bill.
That's a lot.
Does anyone know what our current size storage is?
I think it's the
Not
it's the biggest
10
one they have, 10 by 20, I think.
Would fit that?
10 by 20, for sure.
They do have a 10 by 10, is that too small?
Tight.
It
Got the
might be
miles,
tight,
Yeah.
I'll measure it. But you, 10 by 10, you just have to put all the steel on top of it.
If I motion for $3,000 and it's less, that's okay, like.
Correct.
So I'll motion for $3,000 to pay for storage of this treadmill,
Up to 3,000.
up to 3,000.
Just spitballing here, but should we spend that money on a shed for your property, Jordan? Yeah, heck yeah, we should.
I'll
Leave it
second
for a
Chris's
warming house.
3,000.
I'm serious, like, if we're gonna spend that much in rent for something. Get an asset out of it?
Don't think you can get a shed for $3,000.
Yeah.
Sure can build one.
Bet.
10 by 20.
Take that bet.
I don't know, whatever. $3,000 for storage of it, that works good. Where that storage?
Well, we bought this thing not
Farmington
having a full
storage
plan,
is
you gotta pay the price now.
too, so
When are we gonna use it?
if it only takes 3 months, you're out.
Yeah, that's, I'm just trying to
Right.
get it taken care of. Now, hopefully we don't store it for more.
We've got a second on
I
it,
second
so-
the 3,000.
Okay, in favor? Don't have much choice, so it's approved.
Just keep coordinating with Mike and his boys and their trucks and everything. Tim?
Yeah, they're gonna have to.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay. That was abrupt. Take it.
Can the exec, I know there's only a few of us here, but exec committee, can we meet briefly